Hey, I'm Mike. I started this channel to share my interest for researching and investing in innovative and disruptive companies. Today, I want to talk to you about a stock that is in the esports industry, and it's also a play on the really hot online gambling industry, but the company is not SKILLZ. So I've seen a lot of YouTube videos today after Kathy Wood ARK ETF investment in SKILLZ. You can see here today that in the ARK Next Generation Internet ETF, took a position here in SKILLZ today. So that was quite of interest. So SKILLZ is more of a peer-to-peer online game where you can actually play for real money or different games. Whereas Fans that I'm going to talk to you about today, they are a iGaming company, so they operate like an online casino internationally. So they're in Europe and they're also moving into US and Canada as well. And then they also are heavily involved in esports and actually esports betting. So actually betting on professional players, professionally sanctioned events with a real sports book and odds on online gaming. And when you look at the size of the online gaming industry, you can see how that could just really be huge. Just looking at the esports industry in general, it's something I'm weighted quite heavily on in my portfolio. Investments in Activision Blizzard as well as EA Sports as sort of my more safe long-term holds. And then more recently purchased some shares of Corsair, which is more of a value play. I was looking for a little more value going into 2021 in my portfolio, just looking at how a lot of the high growth stocks have really gone on a big run, and I was just finding it difficult to find spots to place new capital. So and Fans is another one that I look at as a small speculative play that has a small spot in my portfolio as well. And the reason is just the esports industry is growing, and I want to take advantage of that trend. And I think that trend is going to continue to grow for the next number of years. So looking here, you can see in 2018, there was about 395 million global esports viewers. In 2020, we're up to nearly 500 million. And that's expected by 2023 a compound annual growth rate of around 10% to get up to 646 million viewers. So that's really incredible. To put that in perspective, you look at like the NFL, I think it has just over 140 million viewers. Just want to show you a little bit about Fans. If you haven't heard of the company, it's a very small company, like a couple $100 million market cap. So keep in mind that, this is highly speculative play, but it actually trades on the OTC, so over the counter, under the ticker FUNFF. And then it's actually headquartered in Vancouver, Canada. So it trades on the CSE under the ticker Fans as well. And it's actually a global play. They have, through their acquisition of recently of McBookie, they have a iGaming platform that operates in Europe, as well as their online e-gaming sportsbook in Europe as well. And there's some really exciting news coming out about their moves they're making into the US market. And that's where the huge explosive growth, I think, for this company is going to come in the near future. And they've made some excellent inroads towards getting into the US in a big way over the coming years. So just looking at their presentation deck here, they go on to talk about the online gambling market and how it's a $150 billion industry and growing. Companies like DraftKings have been really hot, for example. But I think a market that hasn't been really looked at a lot or under the radar is, what about betting on esports, actual professional player esports, not a wager on, who's going to win the game when you're playing it, but actually betting on professionals and in-game betting with a real sports book with odds on online professional gamers. So I think it's a really interesting play for that reason. Had a lot of announcements recently. They've merged recently with Ascot Entertainment, which was a huge move. And they also recently acquired McBookie. So that's McBookie operates in the UK, and it's bringing them some nice stable revenue. And I like that it's an international company when we're talking about gambling, because if they had all their cards banked on getting into the US market for esports betting, when it's such a fragmented market as far as policy and regulations around it, and if they're going to get in and where and what the timing is for that to happen. The fact is they can already grow this revenue in other parts of the world that are maybe a little further ahead. McBookie already just, right now it's reporting some great numbers for them. Their revenue was up year over year, 433%. Still talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, not even millions. So that I think booked them just over $600,000 Canadian in 2020. I think one thing worth noting is that they have a number of different platforms. Their business-to-business platforms, like the Chameleon, actually allow other companies to integrate their online gambling into their platforms. So that's really where they're going to see some really, I think, big growth in the future. They also operate through ARK Games. They have these sort of like these more like arcade style games with real cash betting integrated. So a little bit more, I guess, up with the times than your typical sort of like casino style games that you might see. That's one thing. Like, again, I haven't actually dug too deep into SKILLZ, and it's something I want to do. But just going through their website, I struggle a little. Like, this is their main page. I see Solitaire, Blitz, and some of these games, and the website looks kind of okay. I think there's more opportunity in a bigger industry to be looking at actually betting on professional gamers, similar to betting on the NFL or whatnot. So like fantasy football type style with gaming, and that's where Fans is headed. And I really think it could be huge. So I actually want to show you what their sportsbook looks like. So they're already operating it in the UK, and they actually, I'm going to talk about a little bit, they actually recently got into Colorado, recently announced, and that's their first inroads to the US. So it's a little bit different than peer-to-peer betting, playing a game for cash as far as regulation. And it's kind of like in line with online gambling on sports, is that there's a lot of regulation, red tape to get through. So I want to show you this. This is their Chameleon gaming platform, where you can actually, so you can pick a game here, StarCraft, League of Legends, and you can actually pick a team and players, and you can see their odds, and you can actually place bets on the game. I don't, because I'm not in the platform, I can't show you all the details of what you can do, but you can even live during matches place additional bets as well. So pretty neat stuff. So looking at a recent announcement here from FansUnite, they actually recently entered this partnership with GameCo. And this partnership is actually what's going to allow them to launch the first ever dedicated esports book in the United States. So it's actually through the Sky Ute Casino Resort in Colorado. And so Colorado will be the first to allow licensed betting on professional esports. And FansUnite is a leader in this with GameCo. I think this could be a gateway into other states as well. Just looking a little bit at the financials, not a lot to look at. Like 2018, zero revenue, 2019, almost zero revenue. And now they're seeing through their mergers and acquisitions, they're seeing quite a bit of growth. I think they were shooting for close to 100% growth this year, but they have 82% growth 2020 from 2019. That's a large part, like I think 3/4 of that is through McBookie. So that'll be nice bringing in, that'll help fund their development as they sort of branch into the US and develop their esports betting platforms through Chameleon. And so revenue grew, I think almost 10,000% last year, but that number is kind of meaningless because it's from, almost zero in revenue. And so the company still is making, it's worth noting, right, under $1 million in revenue. They made 802,000 Canadian last year, and they are expecting to grow that, to double that again next year to $2 million. So still really high growth, still really early stages. There is some licensing that has to happen across the states to allow this e-gaming to spread across the states, but I'm quite confident this is something that will happen in the coming years. This is looking at the FUNFF over the OTC, so in US dollars. It was trading for a while here down to about 20 cents a share, and now it's kind of sitting typically around, almost to $1 a share, 87 cents a share. There looks like there definitely has been some interest in this company. At current prices, we're still looking at a market cap of 134 million. So you can't really use any traditional metrics to evaluate this company as far as the financials. I think you're betting on the story and about the growth and where this company could go. It's kind of like, I guess investing in a biotech or industry where you're kind of looking for them to get those inroads. But I do think this is a safer bet in that they do have a funding stream that is growing exponentially. Regardless, they are going to see revenue increases next year, and I think that'll help fund their development in these other areas. So I'm excited to see how that pans out. So I do have a small speculative position in Fans. I don't have a short-term price target on it. I do think, depending on how regulation goes and how expansion goes across US, that could be a real game changer. But even with revenues expected to double with McBookie next year, I think, and their esports and other parts of the world, I do think that, stock price will be much higher. Extremely speculative, and you really could lose all your money. So I think a company like this, for me, what I do is I would typically look at about a 1% of my portfolio allocation. It's going to be really volatile along the way. There's going to be dilution as they raise funds. And, if things go sort of according to plan long term, it'll grow into a larger position. But if things go sideways, it's not going to have a drastic impact on my portfolio. And I think this is one of those stocks for me that I was willing to take the risk on. And I think there's a lot of positive upside here. Anyways, thanks for watching. And please remember, always do your own due diligence and research. Happy investing.